Alright, this is a 2005 Toyota Sienna minivan with a 3.3 liter in it. I'm Jim. I'm going to be your host for the evening. Anyways, okay, so where you're going to want to start off is while the vehicle is on the ground, you're going to want to take and grab a 1/2 inch drive, or I'm sorry, it can be a 3/8, whatever. But you're gonna need a 1/2 inch socket for the top adjustment bolt for the tension in your belt. That's the shinier bolt you can see right there. To the left of it or down from it, right there, is a 12 millimeter. Then your other adjustment bolt is kind of trying to get it in the center of the screen there. Just underneath the one that's facing you is a 14 millimeter. Just loosen those. That will take the tension off of your serpentine belt. Then you're going to want to remove your heat shield from your exhaust manifold. There's a 10 millimeter on the top, 10 millimeter on the side somewhere. Pissing me off. Alright, and then be prepared to fight that little 10 millimeter nut right there. That thing's probably going to be seized on there. I had to cut the top half of the nut off and nail it with a chisel and split the nut in half. Then you're going to want to loosen up and take out your 14 millimeter exhaust manifold bolts. There's 6 of them. Your lower left corner, you're going to want to use just a deep well 14 millimeter with either a 1/2 or 3/8 drive ratchet. The rest of them you can use a 3-inch extension with whichever ratchet you're using. It's pretty comfortable. They shouldn't come out too bad. Hit them with a little bit of liquid wrench or anything, I guess. Basically, it'll help you release those. Then you're going to have to pretty much loosen up your, going down, your, oh shit, your air AC compressor. There's 4 12 millimeter bolts on there. You're going to want to take the, what's going on here? You're going to want to take the lower ones, you know, basically loosen those completely, slide them back far enough. Make sure that they don't slide back in because they hold up your upper oil pan, and loosen the top ones. That'll give you a little bit of play. You don't have to take out your O2 sensors. Just follow the clips around. I use a dental pick and stick them in. Actually, I pulled this mud shield off. That just takes a small clip right there. If you stick your screwdriver or anything in there, pry back and pull out at the same time. That'll release that clip. Oh my god, I'm sitting on the dental pick. Oh, son of a bitch. Okay, so the dental pick. This works awesome. Both ends. So there's another holder for your exhaust manifold. Can't see anything now. Okay, there you go. Maybe. God damn it. Alright, anyways, this is just pissing me off. Headlamp, hold the phone. Okay, there we go. Alright, take that off. That's 14 millimeter. You're gonna have to kind of wiggle that back and forth to get your exhaust manifold off. The reason you gotta take that off is because it goes underneath your upper oil pan. Your drain pan you can get to no problem. First off, I guess, also try to drain your oil while it's warm so it's more fluid, and it'll drain faster. So then you're going to go to all the 12 millimeter bolts that are holding the upper oil pan in place. Let's see if I can get this to balance out a little more light-wise. So there's the 12 mils, and then underneath this shield right there, there's a 10 mil holding that on. Then there's 2 10 millimeter bolts up into the upper oil pan. These are two 14mm bolts. You're gonna want to remove those. Then underneath your oil pan, obviously after you have that out, you know that has to come out first. There's a oil pickup in there with two 10mm nuts and one 10mm bolt. Also underneath there is another 10mm bolt that's on this side, holding it in. Be prepared. You should probably get some more 10mm bolts just in case if you're going to use the cork gasket. Basically, there are 3 1/4 inch long. It's a medium thread. It's not really a fine thread bolt, but reason being, if you go to torque those down, I was getting less than 7 pounds of torque and they were snapping. So it's pretty early in the morning now because I started this late. So you're gonna want to remove all your connections. This bolt stripped, so I had to replace it, or tap and replace it with another, or well, basically thread it again and put another nut on it. Then you're gonna have to take your other connection off. That will give you room to get your upper oil pan out from underneath it. So good rule of thumb, I guess, is get as much oil as you can, drain it out, take a bunch of parts cleaner and spray it up in there as much as you can after you have, or well, basically after you clean the factory gasket out. That'll dry up the oil. Then you have your oil return ports that will keep dripping oil, so spray enough up in there, stick a rag up in there, make sure you get it nice and dry before you go to apply your gasket sealant. Quick apply your gasket sealant, and you know it doesn't have to be too thick, but I apply them to both edges of the or both sides of the, well, I guess bottom of the motor, top of the upper oil pan. Then basically snug those back down. Don't torque them yet. Go clean your gasket and everything off of your oil pan itself, your lower. Then come back, torque your upper oil pan down. Be very careful on the 10mm bolt because that may strip, or any of them. Double check on your specifications or your torque specs. I don't want to give you the wrong ones. I did things kind of differently because of the amount of gasket sealant and the degree that it's set up at. So then get I guess a liberal amount of gasket sealant on the upper or on the lower oil pan. I always take my finger and kind of keep it away from the inside so I don't have too much overflow going in toward the motor. And then I put all my exhaust back together, tighten down as much as I can, and then I come back, you know, it takes some time, and then torque down the oil pan, which at 7 pounds I was snapping off heads, so I pretty much just got them snug but tighten them in the pattern of a tire. Yeah, then pretty much trying to go through this kind of quick and hit the main points. You know, obviously replace your oil filter. Parts or things you're gonna need, possibly. Let me turn this off and hit this. Okay. So you might need an easy outset. If you're gonna need an easy outset to get your bolts out, center punch, extension for your 3/8 drive, deep well, and regular sockets for your 12 and 14 mils. 10 mils you should be fine with basically just a standard socket. The needle nose pliers, I used a bent needle nose pliers to get the clips out for the O2 sensor, which is probably not going to be able to be seen anymore, is it? It's right here, but now I put my headlamp away. Okay, so anyways, it's right there. So if you squeeze that connection, it'll pop that O2 sensor free so you can move your parts around. Pipe for leverage, a bar of that nature, a scraper for scraping a gasket off. The bar comes in handy for taking your upper, I guess, and your lower you can use too. But on your upper oil pan, you can actually pry, I mean not pry, but you can put tension in between. Let me get headlamp again. Okay, so if you put tension in between, oh Jesus, that is just way off. Alright, can't really get it on my head now, but let's see if I can put a little ambient light. Of course, it's probably not going to work with me at all. Bear with me. Alright, so in between this point here, you can actually hook your upper oil pan, put a little bit of tension on it, and you can start hearing that gasket go. If you have a scraper or a knife or anything, you can get in there. You can actually start cutting away your original gasket, which is basically just gasket sealant. So that's going to help you there. Same thing on your lower oil pan. You do not want to tweak that from true, because otherwise you will have a problem. The reason I used gasket sealant is because of the nature of the bolts. I replaced more than half of them. I actually have access to a lot of different nuts and bolts, parts like that, so that helped. Having a couple extra 10mm, like I said, bolts 3/4 inch long, medium coarse thread, then you should be okay. And a 10mm nut in case your exhaust heat shield doesn't come off. And also, you might as well plan on getting a couple bolts for this connection here, because that you'll probably have problems with if you live in a northern state. So, some tie wire, galvanized tie wire, stainless steel for your heat shields, because those will also be gone. A pinpoint torch, butane torch, is really nice for any stuck bolts, anything like that. You're gonna need 2 donut or exhaust, I call them donuts, but they're basically just an exhaust gasket. 31 332s, 2 of those. You got a microguard cheap filter. Then ultra gray for your upper and lower oil pan. Ultra copper for all of your exhaust connections. I do that just as a fail-safe. I've never had a problem with it. I mean, I never believed in it until I started using it on my headers on my truck and everything else. Works great. Dental pick really comes in handy for cleaning out any leftover gasket maker, anything like that. Also, for cleaning your surfaces, I actually used one of these with a mostly used disc on it, so it wasn't very abrasive, but it would take off all the gasket. Safety glasses, you're gonna get a lot of crap in your face from your oil pan. That thing will not stop leaking. Parts cleaner. So I think other than that, it's time consuming. Just make sure everything has been torqued down as you go on your way about finishing out. And then obviously fill your oil, run your engine, check your oil, and refill if necessary, which you probably will have to top off just a little bit. So I don't know, like I said, it's a time-consuming job. I started this at, I don't even know, 8 or 9, and it's probably now just about 4 in the morning. But I definitely took the time to make sure that this go around was good, since they didn't give me the right parts last time. So I really hope this helps you out. Have some patience, and yeah, I mean, pretty much anybody can do it if you have the patience to just get it done. But I haven't really found anything that was helpful on the internet, or even with the dealer wouldn't tell me anything. Parts stores really can't tell you what you're gonna need or what you're gonna get into, any problems that you're gonna have. So I really hope this helps you out. Good luck. Oh, you're also gonna need a torque wrench. So anyways, good luck, and have fun.